Welcome back to the Sounds of the Baskerville. I'm James Flaherty. I'm here with Chris Baskerville, the star of the show, the Hound as they call him. Chris, welcome to the video version of the Sounds of the Baskerville.
Yeah, most of us like, put it away.
Look, today, Chris, too, we're also really pleased to be joined by Bill Cotter, who's one of the principals of Robson Cotter Insolvency Group. Good to see you, Bill.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for the location.
Prison.
It's quite an industrial look you've gone for here, Bill.
It is.
Yes.
Pared back.
So, talking about pared back, that's the nature of what people think about when they think about liquidators. And you're both liquidators and trustees in bankruptcy.
Correct.
I often talk about on these podcasts, so with Chris, that, do people kind of cross the street when they see you coming, or how does it sort of work?
I think I cross the street when I see people coming.
So the thing that really struck me, we've just come back from the AIIP conference in Canberra, and that's 200 liquidators in a room, which kind of to a lot of people would sound like their worst nightmare, but it was actually and I think that the real underlying message came from me as an outsider kind of looking into your world, is that we are not the enemy. You are not the enemy. You're the person that people should speak to. You're the person who people should speak to kind of now, if you're even concerned. Is that what you walked away from, or you walked away from?
Yeah, that's certainly a message I like to give people, is come and talk to us in times of distress, not leave it to the last minute. The unfortunate part about our job is people do come and get help too late. Yeah. And by that stage, the resources are gone, books and records are dissipated, the knowledge behind the company's gone. It's what can you do? What can we do with that? Nothing.
Yeah, so it's sort of, I've not got a broken arm, it's actually fallen off. Yeah, it's a bit kind of late, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's the story too, Bill. So one of the things that you and I have been talking a little bit about, Bill, is things like small business reconstructing. Is that, I know it's a little bit of an annoy here, a bit in the news, and lots of people are trying to sell these things. But isn't this a chance for you to really get your sleeves rolled up and help turn a business around? Is that
100%? I mean, that's what we love doing. That's why most of us got into the industry, is to try and help businesses in distress, help people in financial trouble, and the new SBR regime's perfect for that. It's helping businesses change and get better and succeed into the future.
Yeah, right. So I think one of the things that's come out, and people might read it, this new thing called Small Business Reconstruction. It's not perfect. There are a few things about it that I'll get you to perhaps talk to that, but it is what it is, and it's already something you can use. Is that a fair summary?
100%. It was brought in very quickly by the governments, and there's some tight rules around it, but they're working. They're being accepted by creditors, and it's putting a lot of businesses back into the out there and surviving and maintaining jobs and all that type of.
I think the data was saying over 80% success rate, as in over an 80% acceptance rate.
Yeah, and I think there's been maybe 500 so far. So it's been successful, I think.
I've done some with some reasonable amount of debt, often to the tax man. I mean, if I think about one that you did, Northern New South Wales, employed a lot of people, owed a lot of money. And can you talk us through that experience?
Well, one of the key qualification criteria to Bill absolutely knows is your debt level has to be less than $1 million. So that's where it taps out. Yeah. So if you go $1,001, unfortunately you don't qualify. But you're right. Let's just say you're at the 999,000 mark,
which is kind of where those guys were at.
Correct. And if the average return, let's just say somewhere between 20 and 30 cents in the dollar, hypothetically, you're saving yourself $700,000 to $800,000 in debt by using SBR. So that's a lot of debt that's coming off your balance sheet to free up a lot more cash flow for your future trading, and now you can get back on your feet again.
That's a game changer, isn't
it? Yeah, humongous.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say it's imagine ripping out that much debt out of your business. Like that's
if someone could wave a little magic wand and go, I'm just going to make 800 grand's worth of debt disappear off your balance sheet.
But that's not to say it's as easy as going Shazam. But, so, Bill, you've done. What's your take on the ones you've done?
Well, there's definitely a process. There's lots of rules. It is a little bit tricky, but absolutely, the 80% success rate speaks for itself.
So I'm interrupting you, but it is a bit tricky, but that's kind of what you guys do.
And that's what you want to be using, somebody that's done them before, that knows the process, that knows the direct lines to the tax office. The tax office is a regular creditor in these things, and they are accepting them. That's the key thing.
So you're saying it's a don't try this at home type thing. It became quite clear to me that there's a bunch of people who have got in and had a go, and there's a bunch of people who are kind of sitting back. So I think would the lesson now be that with you both having a bunch of them under your belt, you've got it pretty sorted? Is that, or as sorted as you can? There's a process? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the process is pretty regimented, isn't it? Because a lot of things in the insolvency landscape, time is never on Bill and I's side because of the strict rules in place. You got to do X by X. We don't have time. And small business restructuring, about 20 business days from the start to get a report out that shows some benefit to creditors why they should accept your proposal. So time's never on our side, and the regulations are really. You basically follow the bouncing ball. If yes, go to regulation. If yes, go to section. If yes, go to.
But you can make it work.
Yeah, but it is horses for courses. Some industries it's more suited to than others, I think. So hospitality we've done a few of, restaurants and clubs and all that type of thing. Perfect, it works well. Other industries, where you've got large suppliers, might be a little bit trickier, but and just needs a bit more planning. Planning is key. You definitely need your accountant on side. You need someone holding your hand, walking through the process.
Yeah, I think there's a real play for accountants or qualified, trustworthy advisors, isn't there? Because it's you do have to have some conversations. So if you've got trade creditors that you have got those sort of things, you've got to watch out for that. Is that some of the things we've learned from this experience? So, if you're looking for finance, there is a watch out.
Yeah. Because, as you said, it's a 20-day period. You have to be prepared. If it's going to need some finance, you need the finance lined up and ready to go. If you've got key suppliers, they need to be talked to beforehand or have plans in place for how you're going to deal with them if things get a bit...
And you've got to put... So I suppose in terms of process, probably just give you a quick potted summary. So I come to you, you get 20 days to kind of put a plan up. You put a plan up to the creditors. Your job is to kind of say, here's the best choice you've got, otherwise we put it into liquidation, and what happens in liquidation? Usually that's value destruction, right? It's pretty tough to steal stuff in the fire.
Yeah, we have to be able to put our hand on our heart and say, it's reasonably likely that plan is better than the alternative, and that's the key.
If the ATO is your major creditor and you're looking to them to write off a heap of tax debt through the SBR process, then they absolutely need to see that your SBR plan results in a better return than liquidation. So they're actually asking us to actually put together what does liquidation scenario look like.
Yeah, gotcha.
Now, it's obviously not as prolifically detailed as an administrator or a liquidator doing that kind of analysis, but we have to look under the hood and make some educated assessments.
It's still going to be better than just blowing the whole
thing up. Totally.
Well, but they want to know that it's achievable as well. They don't just want it on a wing and a prayer that, things are going to get better in the future and that's why it's going to succeed. They want to know, positive changes have been made.
Not back of the envelope cash flows, near none.
Not back.
Yeah, okay, right, okay. No. So I've got so there's a bit of work and it's a real place for accountants. Yeah. Accountants should be calling you guys now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's actually call it a gig in it for the accountant because it's not like, most accountants probably refer them to us and they say, there you go, there's my client Bill, there's my client Chris, we'll see you later. Just tell us how it all ends. Now it's a case of, all right, prepare your client for the SBR. So get them in good shape. Let's run through it. Now I'm going to call on the accountant to make sure all the tax returns are lodged. I need a projection of the cash flow because we're going to build your cash flow independently prepared for the purpose of the report. Off it goes to creditors.
Maybe this is mortally why I say we're not the enemy in your profession. Because how many times do you talk to people and they don't come back for ages? Here's an opportunity you can have a conversation with them right now and do something now. Do this one now because there is a bit of prep. You can have the conversation. This is the sort of things that you need. These are the sort of things you've got to have ready.
Yeah, well, I think it's essential that accountants have a couple of us in their networks that they can pick up the phone to and say, Bill, what do you think about this? Chris, what about this situation? What would you do? Even if it's just preparing and it might be 6 months down the track before it's ready, but at least there's a discussion and they just know that they can trust that person. It's not just a random that they've never dealt with.
It's interesting too, especially if an accountant is somebody who might have, the client's he or she's only ever had a tax return conversation with. It's an opportunity to get some additional work with the business as opposed to just disappear off the books and away they go off into the night. It's a real opportunity for accountants to actually, again, also get involved.
Accountants are always talking about advisory these days. They're getting less in the tax space and the basic bookkeeping space, but they want to be part of the ongoing business and helping achieve success.
Good point too, because one of those things is about staying in your lane. So we talk about sort of untrustworthy advisors are quite often in this, don't we, Chris? About someone down the Gold Coast told me to do this, or the barbecue conversation.
Yeah, the twice bankrupt uncle. He's got some great advice for what we should be doing.
Yeah.
But just going back to the advisor, and Bill said, to have us in your corner is kind of like we're a specialty golf club inside the golf bag. You know what I mean? So when your clients go into the bunker, you pull out the sandwich. That's kind of like me and Bill, and let's try and get that client out of the bunker.
And we're not in that game ourselves. We're not going to try and turn that client into, I don't want to be giving anyone tax advice or talking about capital gains. We want to package it up and hand it back to the accountant as an ongoing client that they can work with.
And that's a good point. So Bill's business, my business, we don't have any back-end accounting. We don't do SMSFs. We don't do audit. We don't do tax compliance in our respective firms.
Can't even do my own tax.
So an accountant referring their client to us doesn't have that fear. Am I going to lose the client back to the guy that restructured them and got them back on their feet? No, it's not how it works for us because we're a completely independent firm. So we hand it back.
And the whole idea is to put them back in, put them back in some sort of shape that they're actually keep on going.
And they can pay their accounting bills going forward and be a valuable client to that accounting practice.
Yeah. And an accountant's worst fear, and this is when we're sort of knocking on doors trying to say, hey, trust us with your clients. Their number one fear is losing a client because they spend so much time building that client base over years of trust. They don't want to see those clients just disappear. So it needs to be a good experience. They need to be put their clients in safe hands.
Yeah, the listeners of the Sounds of the Baskerville, they might be sick of us going, why do it now? Like, why now? Why would I consider doing small business reconstruction? Why should I come and talk to you now? We've talked about this for the last 10 or 15 minutes of all the reasons why people... And it's not I'll be sitting there going, oh, yeah, I've heard all this before. I'll get to it. It's not the biggest thing. There's lots of other bushfires right now. Why should I do it now? Why?
Yeah, so this is the for a limited time only, and no, we don't have an extra set of steak knives here to throw at the deal. But at the moment, I think this is the quintessential issue. At the moment, COVID is the number one extraordinary event people are going to use to say, I need to restructure my business, followed by any of the bushfires, followed by any of the floods. That'll be the main reasons. But what happens, and Bill picked up on this, is over time, that excuse is going to wane. Yeah. No longer can we blame COVID in 5 years' time.
Absolutely.
So, but at the moment, we've got a fairly supportive ATO, and we've also got, effectively direct lines to talk to the right people to get their sort of preliminary view before the plan actually officially leaves our office. Now, how long is that going to be available to us?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're accepting these deals at the moment, but there's no guarantee. They've got a big debt book to collect there, and eventually, COVID's going to start, wearing thin as an excuse for your problems. It needs to be dealt with.
So you've got to have a good story about what happened, and a good story about how it's not going to happen again. Okay. And then I think that's been really helpful. I really appreciate you making yourself available this morning in this quite industrial urban scape that you gave us as an office today.
Always happy to have a chat.
So thanks for joining the Sounds of the Baskerville. I think we've done umpteen thousand case studies we draw on. So thanks again, Chris, for sharing your thoughts. And Interesting. Sounds of the Baskerville video. Thanks again.
Thanks.